Joining us in this episode is the World Bank Country Director for the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, and Brunei. And he's on the tail end of his posting. Ndiame Diop, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lois, for having me.
You've launched this week the World Bank's first report, the maiden report of its Philippines Human Capital Index report. What a swan song!
It happened at a really critical moment because the Philippines is poised to really join the upper middle income countries in the next 3 to 4 years. The country has been doing very well in terms of economic growth over the past 15 years, and that's no accident. It's an important milestone, but it's not a great bar for the Philippines because in fact, the real bar for development is whether you are catching up also, not just on income, but also on good quality education, affordable and quality healthcare services for the population, quality jobs, but also quality social protection.
Before I dwell on that somehow conflicting statements between aiming for upper middle income class status and then lagging behind its peers in terms of human capital development, I'd like to zero in on the findings of the report. What struck you most, and what are the urgent things that needed to be done?
A couple of things. First of all, seeing average income of household increasing is helpful for also investing in human capital, but it's not enough. What is really critical, number one, investment in early years. In the human capital, meaning health, education, social protection, nutrition of the children in their first decade of life. The first 10 years, don't miss it, because that's where the social, emotional, and cognitive skills of the children are being shaped, and that's where the potential for learning, innovating, and earning higher income in the future is really formed. And that's also where the brain development is happening. So one of the key recommendation is don't miss that window. If you target a community or a household to support them to increase their human capital, you have to do it holistically. You have to provide health, education, nutrition, all together, because one without the other will not give you the maximum results that you expect.
It's good that you pointed it out, because I was thinking that if we are to rank which priority should we address first, it's not going to be like that.
If you look at the Human Capital Index of the Philippines, it's 0.52. which means that a child born in 2020 will only reach 20% or 52% of its potential productivity when that child gets to the age of 18. That's not very high. It's actually lower than many countries in the region that Philippines is aspiring to catch up to, such as Malaysia and Thailand. And it's even lower than Vietnam and Indonesia.
Which are its peers.
Yes, exactly. But what is driving that is mainly outcomes in education. The learning poverty or the sort of learning outcomes of the children at basic level is really where the biggest gap is.
How bad is it? Like, if we talk of critical or creative thinking skills, how bad did we fare?
The learning outcomes as we see them are very challenging. And that's where the contrast is, because Philippines at the same time is a country that is known for churning out talent.
Exactly.
It's a country that sends to the rest of the world excellent talent in many areas, in healthcare, in maritime, in many other areas. But then over the last 20 plus years, the country has done a tremendous, really very good job in enrolling every child in school. Really, enrollment rates have been great, but the quality has really not followed.
I couldn't kind of reconcile the fact that the Philippines is aiming for upper middle income status by 2026, and it could get there as early as 2025, and yet you have a score that lags behind its peers in terms of developing human capital. How do you reconcile that?
What is at stake is really what will happen to Philippines' growth trajectory once the kids that are in the education system today get out in the labor market and start producing. So there's a window. Growth is projected to continue to be relatively good, around 6% in the next 3 to 4 years. But then 10 years down the road, these kids that are in the education system will get into the labor market if you don't equip them with the skills that they need. Then the growth, the longer term growth rate of the Philippines may be lower. And you need that growth to be sustained so that, because it's a country that is still relatively young, and you do have the proportion of working age in the total population increasing for another generation.
Which
you
is how many years?
About 25 years. That's really what is at stake, and the window is not very long. It's about 25 years. Now, the good news is that because the population is relatively young, the Philippines is one of the few countries in the region that has the potential to become rich before getting old.
Becoming rich before getting old. Can you elaborate on that point?
Yes, a country like Thailand is already aging, right? So if you look at their growth rate, by the time they get rich, they will be old already. The population will be old. The Philippines has this window of 25 years of leveraging a useful population, and during that 25 years, if you grow by 6%, you actually get to high income economy.
We become rich, and yet we're still young. Wow, what a way to live, right?
So
a luxury.
That's my dream for the Philippines. And I think it's possible. But it requires investing right now in that generation that will drive growth, that will drive innovation, that will drive technological progress 10 years, 15 years down the road.
So the window by which we could leverage on that demographic sweet spot is narrowing. But how much time do we have, and when do we start reckoning it?
The investment should happen now. It should be now, and it should be holistic. It requires a lot of attention to implementation on the ground. You need boots on the ground.
The LGU's job. At the national level, won't it be upsetting somehow that you have a change in the cabinet members, especially also, of course, in the education department?
What is really critical is, as I mentioned, what you do on the ground and how the national government is supporting it.
So you said the Philippines can do it. Now you're on the tail end of your posting here. What are the memorable things that you would, remember about the Philippines? On
a personal note, it has been a real privilege. And it's been a great experience for me. I've made many friends, and I consider the Philippines as part of myself right now. This is a country that I will certainly visit many times because, as I said, it's really part of my life. And there are a few things that I've seen in the Philippines that resonate very well with me, and I will summarize it in the 5 Fs. 1 is family, 2 is friends, 3 is food, then fun, and then faith. Right. I've been joking though with some Filipino friends about why Filipinos are so religious, right? And I was just joking that perhaps it's a bit like my home country. When you submit a paper in the administration, all that you have to do is to pray, because you never know when you will get the response from that administration. But that's just a joke. It applies to my home country, but I'm not sure to what extent it applies to the Philippines.
And that's your next assignment?
My next assignment is country director for Nigeria. Nigeria is the biggest country in GDP, but also in population in Africa. It's a 250 million country. Very large oil and gas exporter, abundant in resources, a bit like Indonesia, but facing many challenges in development. So I'm heading toward, wish me luck.
Good luck and all the best. You're closer to home.
It's not very far from my home country, which is Senegal.
Thank you for this privilege of granting us your last interview for the Philippines.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate this.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.